Hello and welcome to All for United. It's a pleasure to have your company once again this Thursday evening. It's been a few days. It's been a bit odd having had something like 3 or 4 shows in 3 or 4 days to throw into having 3 or 4 days off. It's been a miraculous time. Hasn't done me any good though. I am down with the dreaded lurgy, but there we go. That's what happens when you take time off. How are you? Are you all right? We've got loads of people here with us. 3 people sat ready to have a cracking Thursday throwback as we have another great topic show. To my right-hand side, it's my right-hand man on the left-hand side, actually, sorry. It's Dan. How are you doing, sir? He's muted.
Oh,
that's the first thing he is.
Brilliant start.
Still going. So like, no, do you want me to unmute you, Dan? Are you struggling, fella? Yeah, mate. There you go.
Wouldn't let me unmute myself then.
Really?
Really?
The power that I wield. The power that I wield.
I thought he silenced me forever. No, I'm fine. I just got over the lurgy myself, so I feel loads better.
Well, at least you're doing better, mate. That's the most important thing there. Over there in the bottom corner is, well, the season ticket holder, the legend that is Mr. Andrew Wall. How are you, sir?
I'm all good, yeah. Looking forward to the weekend now and seeing, well, yeah, hopefully both United teams are winning on Sunday. So, yeah, all good.
Very nice. You've put that song in my head now, you know, that I can't wait for the weekend to begin. I've got that in my head now, so that's going to be flying through for the next 10 minutes. So cheers for that, Andy. And down there is just behind me, or below me even. My God, this is going to be a good show. Just below me, we have got fresh from his cruise, Mr. Bainesy. And Connor here is loving Bainesy's scarves. So
I've got more.
I've
actually got more. I haven't got them up. I need to get another poll thing to put up and blah blah. Yeah, but I'm good. Thank you. I was in the Caribbean. I was on a stag do for 8 days, as my missus keeps saying. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, thank you. I've come back with the lurgy as well. So I'm not as bad as you, Barry, though. To be fair. But yeah, all good, mate.
I think Andrew's going to catch it. It's going to go all the way through the ether and out through the microphones. You're not going to feel too good, Andy, tomorrow, but I'll let one. So there we go. Well, listen, we've got 4 topics. The mystery topic has been decided now, and that's going to be coming in at number 3. But we're going to kick off with the thumbnail picture. And that was my topic. I was sitting there thinking, what shall I talk about? And, you know, it's been on my mind now for the last few days. That picture's been everywhere. We've seen it all. United Emu does a lot of stuff for us. Brilliant picture of the 3 lads on the side, just in front of the Trinity statue. And I'm sort of stuck in 2 minds, lads. Like, I'm really stuck in 2 minds. There's part of me that just sits here and thinks, they're very young. That's a very big thing to start throwing at people. Could you be the new Lord Charlton and Best? That is a huge thing to be shouting out there. But, dare I say it, there's a little bit of me that's like, ooh, could it be? I've got a Wallace and Gromit. Ooh, cracking cheese Gromit, right? But genuinely, I'm sitting there thinking, could it be? Like Garnacho's doing really well down the wing. Brilliant stuff from Rasmus, finally getting some goals and starting to get some more of them. And, of course, Kobbie Mainoo. Now, I don't know if he'll ever reach the legend of Bobby Charlton. I don't know if Garnacho can be as good as Best. I don't know if Hoyland can be as good as Law. But when you consider the positions they're in and the talent that's coming through, it's a hell of a thing, isn't it? So I just kind of wondered what you guys were thinking. Do you think there is any chance whatsoever that in 20 years' time we're talking about these 3 in a similar sort of breath? Or do you think everybody needs to whack the brakes on slightly and sort of see what's going on? I'm going to throw that over to Dan because he should be more prepared. That's for you.
I am definitely not more prepared, but I will start. It's one of them, innit? Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting carried away, but I'd imagine Stu, in particular, would be cursing everybody if we sat here and say they're going to go on to that level. Let's be honest, if they went on to achieve half as much as those 3, it's still going to be an absolutely incredible career for all of them. I mentioned on the last show, my only doubt of the 3 would be Garnacho, and not for the level he's going to reach, but when he hits that very top level, what club he's actually at when he does it. is it going to be Man United or is it going to be Real Madrid? Because I've got a sneaking suspicion it's going to be Real Madrid. So that's going to be a tough one to keep him. Genuinely, when the other two speak, when Mainu speaks and Højlund speaks, I can see them being at United for the next decade minimum. As long as we provide them with what they need and the club is getting back to its very best off the pitch as well as on the pitch, there's no reason why we won't see them in a decade. Obviously, there's rumours today that Kobe Mainoo's got a new contract offer on the table as well. So that's a good start. Cautious, hopefully, like Garnacho's was in terms of what he earns. I'm hoping the club's learned the lesson and we don't give too much too fast. I just can't wait. I just can't wait to see it. Hopefully, I genuinely wish all three of them are there in a decade, but I think it would be a hard ass for them to all be there in the decade. But it's so much promise in what's been not a great season. And this is what most people, including myself, have been crying out for in terms of giving some of the youth a chance. Like I'll be honest, myself, I often overlook that he has given youth a chance in them three players, and it's turned out really, really well for him. He's used them right. When Garnacho got too big for his boots, he took him down a peg or two. Kobe Mainoo, everyone knew was coming, and we still sat here in awe of what he's actually brought to the team. I just wish he wasn't injured at the start of the season because it's sort of what could have been this year, even with such a young man.
I tend to agree. And Andrew, I think for me, one of the things that's really stood out for me was watching what was happening and unfolding on social media over the last couple of days. And there was the video the photo that was followed by a video from Kobe Mainoo, where this chap has put forward this photo. It was quite a sad photo, really, because it shows his dad in the hospital and everything's, really quite bad for them. But they've shared this magical moment where Kobe Mainoo scored the goal, and it was such a wonderful moment for them. Obviously, the father passed away, which was terrible. But what really got me was the response that Kobe Mainoo gave, because it just seemed like he was just wise beyond his years. He didn't look like he was an 18-year-old facing the limelight for the first time. He just looks like he's a really grounded chap. And I think when you're getting those sort of players, it's giving me sort of Paul Scholes vibes, really. He was never one of those who goes running off and throwing out to the media and doing all that, but he was just quietly, softly spoken, but confident in his ability. And I feel like that's what Kobe Mainoo's got. What are you thinking of these three?
So that photo, well, went viral on social media, and after the game, I just think a picture tells 1,000 words, and I just think, yeah, United fans haven't had many reasons to smile this season, but you couldn't help but be smiling from grinning ear to ear. After that, Garnacho scored that goal, and then him sitting on the electronic boards, and then Mainoo and Højlund joining him as well. So yes, maybe he was mimicking Ronaldo's celebration as well, but you could tell between when Højlund and Mainoo rushing over to join Garnacho, just spoke of the bond between those three players as well. So those three players were outstanding against West Ham, along with the unfortunately injured Martinez as well. And it's probably one of our, say like Wolves away, but that's probably one of our best performances at home this season against West Ham. And I feel like with them three, it just feels like there's a bit of a sense of belief, that they can spare us on, to great things, but also we can end this season on a bit of a high note as well. So as I just said, we haven't had much to smile about. And those three players also played their part in that 4-3 win against Wolves, and we'll be looking to those three again on Sunday against Aston Villa as well, because we want to be climbing back up to that table, back into the Champions League spots. And you can tell from look on Ten Hag's face as well. He couldn't help but grin like a Cheshire cat. It was like, yeah, I've got three excellent players here, and if I keep working with them, I'm going to get the very best out of them as well. So I just think they're playing with a sense of adventure. It has been that ground for young players coming through. Dating back to when the Busby Bays came through. The class of '92, and I believe Ten Hag is the coach that will lead this revolution of younger players through. And you can see where Ajax, when he did it with De Ligt, Frankie de Jong, even Donny van der Beek as well. So and took them almost to a Champions League final. So as he said, we're building a team as well, and we've got those young players coming through, but also the experienced players will help them through as well. So there's going to be times where they might make a mistake or they just need a bit of guidance. But I think the future United is very good because we have high potential, and they're there together, and we want them to play with the football we know, with that adventure and enjoyment. That's what we want to see as well. To be entertained. But yeah, I'm just thinking, as long as those three stay together, and keep that strong bond, I think the sky's the limit with them.
Absolutely, I think that's probably fair to say. And Bainesy, for you, I mean, Dennis Law was obviously a huge striker for us and is such a good forward player. And Rasmus Højlund has obviously we've always said he's going to get a little bit more time than perhaps another striker might have got because we knew he wasn't the finished article when we bought him. But 4-4 in the Premier League now, starting to score goals, getting into positions, almost starting to boss and bully some of these defences now and getting himself into a position where he can actually do stuff and get in front of them and really harass them and give them things to think about rather than looking a little bit lost. As we said, Garnacho as well, potentially a bit up and down. He's not quite at that level where he's performing every single week, but he gives 7 out of 10s most week as a matter of course. Where are you seeing it? Do you agree with Andrew that the sky's the limit for these three, or are we putting too much pressure on these boys?
The sky is certainly the limit, but also they have to be grounded. They are really young still, so they're going to nurture into that. But look, Højlund, as much as people like to say that he, 0 goals in 14 games or whatever, he's got 11 goals this season. If you count the Champions League, I think that's a pretty good return. I know obviously he came with that price tag, but he's still. I know in the league he hasn't done it, but we've seen the performances in the league. He's deserved the goals, and also the way we've played this season, he has been a bit starved of chances. So when the odd chance does flick to him, he's not that confident in front of goal. But now we're actually seeing the fruits of the labour where he's actually finally comfortable in front of goal. He's confident, and he's scoring goals for fun now, which is great. And especially at a time where we really needed it, it's certainly come at a good time. Excuse me. So I think they're all really young. They need to be nurtured. They need to be looked after by the club, and I'm sure they will. I'm going to sit here and say I hold my hands up about Kobbie Mainoo. Genuinely, I thought people were getting ahead of themselves in pre-season. There was a lot of things being floated about with Kobbie Mainoo about him being like a Seedorf regen and he's going to save United's midfield. And I sort of took a step back and went, look, guys, he's 17, 18. Can we just relax on this? Not every single academy product that comes out of United Academy is going to be this world beater. But I will hold my hands up and I'd say I was massively wrong. The guy is 18 years old and he seems to just show this sense of maturity in midfield, something that you look and go, bloody hell, like this isn't any old. This is Man United in the Premier League, and he's making experienced midfielders look at him and go, bloody hell, he's good, isn't he? And you got to take everything that you see online, especially with pundits, fans, ex-players, whatever. You've got to take it with a little bit of pinch of salt. But everything you see about Kobbie Mainoo, and Garnacho will have his up and down days, and the same with Mainoo and Højlund. But everything that you do see about Kobbie Mainoo, absolutely unbelievable. And he's 18. And I hope he does choose England as his international side, because then the future is really looking bright with him and Bellingham in the midfield. But yeah, look, to compare them to the Holy Trinity, as they say, is certainly some massive boots to fill, huge boots to fill, in fact. And like Dan said, even if they have 50% of their career, they're going to have a wonderful career. So it's certainly something to look forward to. As fans this year, we've really struggled to really have something positive to talk about. And I think those three are certainly a huge positive. And it seems like now the team is starting to sort of turn the gear a little bit, turn the corner up. I hate saying that because we'll end up losing to Villa, and then it'll be doom and gloom again. But it is focused on those three, among others, I must admit. But those three seem to be the shining light for us at the moment. And it is certainly great, to something to look forward to, especially in the future, with the new ownership coming in, and they're trying to set a standard, let's say. But if we have those three as the spine, as they say, then by all means build the team around them. They're young; we can have them for another decade. I agree with Dan about Garnacho. I don't know whether he's actually going to be here or Real Madrid. He seems to love Cristiano Ronaldo. We all know that. So is he going to follow his footsteps and go to Real Madrid? Maybe. We don't know. But Ronaldo's United career, his first stint was absolutely unbelievable. So even if he has a similar career, then fine. I'm all for it. He can go to Real Madrid as long as he produced the goods for us in the end, I suppose, eh? But yeah, something certainly to look forward to. And it's nice and refreshing to have that this season with those three especially.
I think I tend to agree. And again, in a season where it's been a bit naff, really, for the most part, there's not been a huge amount to shout about. It is good to have that level of positive feeling about something. And again, at a time when we are mourning and remembering the Busby Babes and 1958, the Munich air disaster, absolutely unbelievable to sit there and think that even now, 66 years later, we are still in a situation where we are still producing some of the best talent that
Incredible
the world
story, isn't
can see. It's absolutely wonderful. So that's my little topic done out of the way. We give ourselves roughly 15, 20 minutes per person. That's my 15, 20 minutes. And I think it was a nice place to start. But now we open the floor. The floor is open to all of you. You've come prepared with your own topics that you want to debate and have a chat about and see what other people across the United fandom are thinking. It's my job purely to put you in order, and that is what I have done. So, Bainesy, you are going to kick off this topic show with your topic, shockingly. What might it be?
Well, my topic is it's fairly fresh news that come out the last couple of days, which is the redevelopment or rebuild of Old Trafford. Now, look, I'm not fortunate enough to have a season ticket. I do like to go to Old Trafford at least 5, 6, maybe 10 times a year, a season. So I don't have that connection as to what maybe Andy might have, or perhaps you, Barry, especially because your name is Old Trafford is my church. But this might be controversial, but I'm on the side of actually building a brand new stadium. The reason being is I think that commercially and I think logistically it makes complete sense to try and develop Old Trafford what it is now on old infrastructure and old engineering, blocks or whatever. It just doesn't really make sense. Now, for me, building a brand new, as they call it, Wembley of the North, this £2 billion state-of-the-art stadium puts us firmly on the map. I mean, we're on the map now with Old Trafford, but this puts us in the this is how football clubs are meant to be represented with this stadium. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that we'll get. Now, on top of that, if you think about the financial impact that this would have, it would blow FFP out the water. You can see that with Real Madrid at the moment. They can do anything they want in the transfer market because the way FFP is structured, their stadium, their commercial rights, their commercial deals that come through the stadium is up the very top. They can do whatever they want. And the thing is with United, we don't have that with Old Trafford. When was the last time Old Trafford was used to host an event, a concert, even an NFL game? Or the only last time it's actually really been used is Soccer Aid. Now, if you build a brand new stadium, you can vent for that. You can build something for that commercially. Now, I'm not saying that you build Old Trafford for commercial reasons. Of course not. You do build it for the fans, but I think the great thing that I see about this new proposal is it's literally on the same patch as Old Trafford. I think it backs onto the Stretford end. And obviously United have got this huge piece of land like around Old Trafford anyway, so they could pretty much just pick it up and put it somewhere else and modernise it with new concourses and new facilities and a new mega store. And you could even still keep Old Trafford as it is. You can maybe reduce it down to 20 or 30k seats and put the under 18s or 23s or the women's team there. You could build a museum there where currently Old Trafford is, and you can move all the facilities over to the new stadium. So yeah, for me, it makes complete sense. But I get what people are saying in terms of the history, the nostalgia, the connection that they have. I think I saw someone on Twitter say that their granddad and their dad used to take them to Old Trafford and watch the Babes, and that is something that you wouldn't necessarily get. You can't continue that into the new stadium, but a lot of clubs have done it. I think Real Madrid, this is not their actual original stadium. That might be wrong, but I don't think it is. Obviously, we know Spurs have completely rebuilt. Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich, all the massive clubs around the world, they've rebuilt their stadiums or built brand new and relocated. And then they've created history on top of that. I mean, Arsenal with the Emirates, ever since they moved to the Emirates, it moved them. You can ask any Arsenal fan that used to go from Highbury to the Emirates. They said it completely transformed the way the club operated on a commercial sense, on a sales sense. But yeah, I'm on the side of that. I know it's controversial. I know it's something that people aren't really open to. And I completely get that. But I think if the club needs to move forward, and if we really want to be calling ourselves the biggest club in the world, the stadium needs to follow suit. And unfortunately, the way the Old Trafford is right now, we can't do it, unfortunately. But yeah, that's my 2 pence on it.
Well, generally, how these things work are supposed to be that once the topic owner has said their piece and put it forward, everybody can just jump in at any point they want to. I've just jumped in at this point because I wanted to go next. It's the answer to that one, so I can just sit in the corner for a bit rocking whilst
you can shoot me down. It's fine.
And then wait for the next person. That sort of thing. But no, genuinely, because this is one of those, right, I totally get where you're coming from. It makes complete sense. You look at both sides of the coin and it's not easy. But I very much fall on the nostalgia side of things. I think how much money we've got. And I think we fell foul of FFP, not because we didn't have the income, but because we just bought so terribly. And we've been so poor at managing our finances. And I think that other clubs, your Spurs, your Arsenals, these sorts of teams, have all had to work hard at trying to do the things you've just mentioned, getting the commercial rights. Man City just got themselves somebody who could put some money in. And, well, hey, all of a sudden they had lots of income. Miraculous. Might put Chelsea in that bracket too. But I think for me personally, the nostalgia thing really matters because we are a club built on it. Again, we're talking about Manchester United here in the week where we have commemorated everything that went on with Munich and the Munich Memorial Foundation, all of these things. As we sit here and think about that, the ground in which they're playing currently is the ground in which these guys played in, the ground in which so many people graced. And I think that's the bit that people find hard when you get rid of that. Yeah, you can build a museum to say this is the site where it happened, but it's not the same thing. I love going around to places that have got historical significance and things like that. I like the fact you can walk into London and that there's this big platform that you can go and stand on that if you was to fall it down was the exact distance away from where the Great Fire of London started in Pudding Lane. Little things like that, places where you can go where it's actually happened, matter to me. I really do like that because it maintains the history. It maintains the integrity of the history rather than just saying this is what happened here. Potentially one of the most emotional parts of my life. We took some scouts to New York City. We gave them the opportunity to go there and take on a proper American scout camp. And for one of them, we just went around New York City and we went to where the Twin Towers were. And it was the strangest thing for me. I walked up to where they were and when there's just this hole in the ground, and I burst into tears because I remember where I was that day, and they've not done anything other than just put a few things around it and kept it pretty much as is. You know, obviously they've tidied it up and done things like that, and there's beautiful memorials around there. And when you look at that, you think to yourself, that's powerful. And I think that's kind of how I feel about Old Trafford. Whatever happens with it, we've got to maintain that history so that when people go there, they're going to feel like they're not disconnected from that. I think a lot of people found when they went from Highbury to the Emirates, a bit was missing. You know, they tried their little bits, like, we'll take a few bricks and we'll do that there, or we'll take a bit of this and that'll go in there and that'll be, but it doesn't have the same ring to it. For me, I've always been redeveloped. I think you can redevelop quite easily for the most part. That's my preference, but I fully get that that doesn't necessarily fit in with the modern way that football's going. You look at things like City. You mentioned how they've got this complex, which is amazing for where they are. Yes, the women can go and play in the academy stadium along with the academy team, and that all works nicely because it's all in one little hub. It's all one club. Makes sense. I get it, but we're not Man City. Man City following our footsteps. It's not the other way around. So I don't know, that's where I sort of feel like it. And yes, OT is my church, is my username. And it's very much like a real church. I visit there once or twice a year if I'm lucky, depending on what's going on, whether I'm interested. More often than not, I do. It's a long trek. But somebody who goes there every single week, pretty much, it is Andrew. So as much as I just said what the rules were, I kind of want to just throw it over to you because you spend your hard money there all the time. And I think of the four of us, the person that I'd like to hear the most what should happen with Old Trafford, it would be someone who's invested the time, the money, and the effort that you put in. You know, whatever Dan and I are going to say is sort of just an emotional response. Whereas for you, it's what you do. It's your bread and butter. You're there. You're supporting the team vocally all the time. So I'd love to hear that. But if Dan wants to butt in, he can. It's up to you guys. Now I'm going to go Ruck.
Yeah, I'll stay in it. I'm torn on this one. I can see arguments for both, but I'm sentimental when it comes to Old Trafford. I'm just like, every time I go to Old Trafford, walking through this turnstile and then up to my seat, I still get that feeling of excitement. And as Sir Bobby once said, it's the theatre of dreams. You know, we've all lived out our dreams there, watching the players do what they do as well. So, yeah, I'm sort of I've had this debate with fellow fans as well, and I'm just like, do I want to see it redeveloped, or do we want a brand new stadium? As you said, Daisy, I think it's just going to be. I think the plans show it was about 200 meters.
Yeah,
200 meters, and it's going to be
it's pretty much it backs on. So yeah, so Stretford End is here, and then new stadium will start here, pretty much. So it backs onto each other.
It's for me, it's just like Old Trafford's just historic and iconic.
Yes, it's Old Trafford, isn't it? At the end of the day,
it's like a new stadium. Would it give that? I mean, I've been to Tottenham's new ground. And yeah, it's all right, and but it's nothing like your home ground. And I know our rival fans say, and sing Old Trafford is falling down, but slightly exaggerated. Yes, Old Trafford is a good stadium, but is it one of the best anymore? Probably not. No, but as I read somewhere, it is what it says on the tin. Yes, it's old, and it comes with restrictions in terms of space as well. So it affects everything inside the stadium in terms of like the kiosks, even the media facilities. You got like Tottenham's ground or even bigger stadiums. Their press rooms, they can hold over over 400 journalists. Old Trafford, their media room can hold about 97. So it's very snug in terms of space. But I mean, Real Madrid had the similar problems, but they expanded outwards and improved everything in the process. I think United could and should probably look to do that. Yes, the south stand, behind us is the railway, and that's a bit of a restriction. And I'm just thinking like Anfield as well. They had housing in the way of them, but they could compulsory purchase, all those houses as well. Whereas a railway, it's a bit more difficult to build over as well. So I know it doesn't. I think at the moment only freight trains go through that line at the minute because it's not open on match days, and I don't think since. I don't know, it was due to that bomb scare like a few years ago. There was like, well, we'll just cut the railway, off. But I just also there's huge potential, you know, in the area of Old Trafford, as you know, even if it's to redevelop or even a brand new stadium, you know, transport wise as well. Even you look at what City have done, and as much as you question some, you know, their finances and everything else, they have not only the stadium, the area around it. So it's not necessarily United's responsibility to do that, but neither was it on Man City side. But their actions spoke louder than words, and I just, if we were to redevelop a new stadium, it's, you know, where do we play in the meantime? So there was talking, you know, there is our neighbours Man City, but would fans even want to envisage that? I know during the Second World War and even a bit into the 1950s as well, I think we had to play some European games there, but that was because Old Trafford had been bombed out, so we had to find a ground. So would fans be accepting of, you know, playing on our rivals' ground as well? So
I think that on that though, sorry, just quickly, I think that they would do a similar approach to how Barcelona and Real Madrid did it, which was basically they shut down a whole stand, rebuilt it, went to the next one, rebuilt it, went to the next one, rebuilt it. And I'm not sure if you remember, well, no, but if you ever watched Madrid games last season, they had that blue sort of banner, that tarp that went round the seats. That was the new stand being built. So it was essentially for match games, they would just cover it all completely because it was a construction site. Obviously, no fans were allowed in, whatever. But that's how they tackled that. And I think Atletico Madrid went to a new ground, but there was a huge club that essentially did it that way. They shut down a whole stand, rebuilt that whole thing again, and then went on to the next side, went on to the next and the next side. I'm not sure if even that's possible. Could you imagine if we completely shut off Stretford End to rebuild it? One, how long would it take? And two, I mean, like the Stretford End, like it's one of the main freaking grounds, one of the most famous ends in football history, and we're going to shut it off for a whole season just to rebuild it. So, yeah, there's a lot of logical nightmares to get round.
Same standard Sir Bobby Charlton, the railways cut that off, you know. You know, could be where do you put all those season ticket holders trying to move them around? It could be the case that, well, United tell us, oh, you can't come back for a good few years, you know, if you can't move, we can't move you. So that's why, even though I'm debating, I said backstage, you know, United reclaiming the Stretford and, you know, those hospitality seats, you know, whether I move my seat to there, because I'm just thinking if the South Stand was to be redeveloped and it's out of action, then am I going to be moved somewhere else, or I'm not able to go? And I'm just thinking, reading about the new stadium, how long will that project take? And like reading, it could be like 6 to 8 years. And I'm just thinking, can we really wait that long? So that's what I mean, is redeveloping the best option of it all. And I'm just thinking, even if it was a new stadium, what to do with Old Trafford as it is, you know, revamp that, and, you know, becomes for the like academy stadium and even the women's, because I know with Lee Sports Village that's 12,000 capacity, but the more that builds up, you know, we're gonna have to find somewhere else as well as the women's games grows as well. So it's, as I say, I'm really torn. I'm just like, I go between both, and I'm just like,
perhaps we just redevelop Old Trafford, right? Do it all at the same time, pretty much. As leave one stand open. The women go to Old Trafford, play there, and the men just go and play at LSB.
that'd be good. Was that the under 20? Was it under 23? Well, the youth players play there. So yeah, it's just, I don't know.
It's too big of a decision. To be fair, if you do redevelop it, how far do you go? That is the real question.
Well, it's like they talk about the leaky roof, and I think David Gill has given with a and he said the roof was leaking when I was there and I was in charge. Okay, it's probably leaking a bit more now, but I think Sir Jim is looking at that issue. But, and as I said, Sir Jim's, well, let's say he's 71 now, and he's in a hurry, so he's not going to be wasting time. You know, he wants to get a job done, and for him to leave a huge legacy behind as well. So I'm just thinking, time is of essence, and I just think he wants to get the job done, and, you know, but let's say it's whatever the decision is on Old Trafford, where it's redeveloped or there's a new stadium, there's people out there that are not going to be happy, and people that are going to be happy.
You can't please everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what all comes out of of it all.
Come on, Danny boy, you've been a bit quiet. You had not a lot to say. This isn't like you. What's your two
I've
penny?
genuinely just been enjoying listening to you talk about it, to be honest. You're all basically spot on in what you're saying. It's a really tough decision. I was lucky enough to go to Old Trafford last year for the first time. It's not as bad as rival fans make it out to be, and it's it's steeped in history from top to bottom. Me personally, I would want us to redevelop, just because of the history, and then I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that like families have had like relatives' ashes spreaded on the pitch and stuff like that. So that's another reason for me to just you can't then knock Old Trafford down with that history involved in it.
I wouldn't want to get it knocked down.
Yeah, my question
if you
would
build
be,
new, you need to sort of
you've got to find something to do with Old Trafford. So if you are going to
Yes.
redevelop a new stadium, it's going to take years and years and years. Now, I'm interested in Andy's answer on this as well, because he follows the women often. I don't think there would be anything wrong with creating a sports village, because not only will you create more jobs for the people in Manchester anyway by having two stadiums in two places where they're massive footballing stadiums, but if it takes 5 years, the way the women's game's going is that way. It's not going anywhere else. So would the logical step not to be have a big new stadium for the men's team to create this profit and create more history, etc., and for the women to go and play at Old Trafford and play in such a magnificent stadium? I've never been to the LSV, but I'd imagine it's not as good at Old Trafford. So like that's where I would be with it.
It's special in its own way.
But I just imagine that's a perfect sort of
scenario
compromise in between. There's a nice new stadium that they can get all these rights to, and FFP, blah blah blah, and then you still kept the history of Old Trafford, and the women's game can take over Old Trafford and make it its own.
Yeah, I was going to say like our rivals Man City, you got the Etihad, and then you just walk across the bridge, and there's the Academy Stadium as well. So I can see the sense in having
sports village.
A new stadium, and then the women's play in slightly redeveloped Old Trafford, even the academy as well, the men's academy as well. So they can get that experience inside a big stadium as well. So it swings and roundabout on this argument. I'm just like,
I think we can maybe all agree that the only wrong answer is completely knocking Old Trafford down. I think that is the wrongest answer.
I'm completely against that. I'm completely against knocking it down. There's just way too much steeped in history, that place, and you can feel it when you walk around Old Trafford. You can just feel that this club is just absolutely massive. It's steeped in history. It's every single corner you go to at Old Trafford. There is a story, or there's an old season ticket holder that's there, and he will tell you about the babes, and the place is remarkable. But for me, if we are going to move on with the times with football, we'll probably need to move to a new stadium, and I think this is probably maybe the best scenario we're going to get, with a brand new stadium right next to Old Trafford. I mean, I think there was something like 60 or 70% of people actually walk over the new stadium where they're proposing where the new stadium will be. So it's certainly something that is recognisable. You can. It's too much to even think about.
I was going to say, if we build a new stadium, and obviously redevelop what Old Trafford said to be used by the women's and the new stadium, what do you call that? Do you still call that Old Trafford?
I think
you can
still get away with Old Trafford.
Naming rights.
Just call it New Trafford.
No.
And just
Old Trafford, New Trafford.
And just thinking a new stadium, like the prices of ticketing, like because we've all seen, prices are being raised at United, and I'm just thinking tickets have got to be affordable. So I'm just like, that's a key issue. You want fans inside the stadium. You don't want them seeing priced out of going to a game, because I think on average, say what I spend on a match day is probably 80-90 quid. So that's my ticket, transport, getting food as well. So it's just like it's still got to remain affordable. So even with a new stadium as well. So even if we redevelop it, and now I know the price 5% increase the next season. I think that was all agreed before Sir Jim even got here, so he had literally no say in it. But I don't know whether that's more a commercial thing, which I know Sir Jim's on the football operation, but with the football operation, that's going to intertwine with the commercial side as well. So
I need to work hand in hand.
It's whether from the following seasons, Sir Jim will have a bit of influence on that side in regards to prices or not, but remains to be seen.
Definitely an interesting subject, and one that's going to take, bigger minds than ours, I think, to sort out. But as you can see, there's lots and lots and lots of thought that has gone into that for a lot of people. But I will just say, had to highlight this one. Georgie, you know we love you, mate. We get on very well with you. It already has. You're saying it will never have 40 to 50,000. It already has. Barcelona had 91,648 turn up for a game against Real Madrid. That was a women's game. And you only have to go back to 1920 for when, and get ready for these names, the Dick Kerr ladies beat St Helens ladies 4-0 in front of 53,000 people. So to say it's never going to...
Didn't Old Trafford sell out one weekend in the women's game? Or am I making that up?
But I don't think it has, no. I think we came close.
It got...
In terms of working hard, we got about 40-odd thousand.
44,000, or was it just over 44,000 for the Manchester Derby last year?
The reason I mentioned that is because this renovation or new build is going to take 5 years. So even if you don't think the women's game is where it is, but it is, even I've started to notice that this season, we're watching it a little bit more myself.
It'll get there, wouldn't it?
In 5 years' time, I would imagine they would be able to fill Old Trafford quite comfortably. And I'm sure Andy wouldn't mind keeping his seat at Old Trafford for the women's game, like probably a lot of other people that go.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
People will grow into it. This is the thing. It's not just talking about people changing their minds. You know, like you say, if there's people that don't enjoy women's football, that's fine. Nobody's sitting there trying to say you must watch women's football. You know, it's not that sort of world. But what we're saying is there's lots of younger people that are now starting to get into it, that are watching it. More and more girls getting interested in watching women's football as well. And as a result of that, that's only going to grow the attendances, as you say, over the next few years. So as a result of that, there's going to be more natural sort of progression within the growth of the game, just purely because there's going to be lots of people watching it. So no one's having a go at you, mate, but come back in 5 years, because I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised to see that they are going to grow. You look at LSB, we were getting, Andrew, what sort of 2 to 3,000 maybe most weeks, and now all of a sudden you're getting sort of anywhere between 4 and 10. We are the most well represented and well supported, most attended, outside of just using big stadiums like the Emirates and Stamford Bridge and those sorts of places. Just using LSV, we're getting the most. We're getting the closest to sort of 10,000 on a weekly. So it is definitely growing. And Twilumber, I haven't deliberately ignored what you said. You're speaking about Manu's contract. We've already covered Manu in the first part of it. So if you want to rewind when we're finished, feel free. We do talk a little bit about Manu getting a new contract in there. So feel free. Yeah, currently it might not. I'm not arguing with you currently. I'm talking 5 years' time. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not having a go at anybody. Just saying. I'm unwell. Don't fight with me today. I can't handle it. Andrew, I think it's your topic next, sir.
I just wanted to look at how Ten Hag is going to set United up now to ensure Lissandro Martinez is not going to be sorely missed, because I just think we had the news the other day. After he got injured against West Ham, we thought, Ten Hag said he didn't look good, and then it was announced it was going to be 8 weeks on the sideline. It was just the last thing we needed after that good win against West Ham, And so, he's only just returned to commit after 7 months for the foot injury as well. That was aggravated from last season, because when he did that, they just tried to treat it without doing surgery. And I think when the new doctor came into the medical department, said, "Why didn't you get this
Do the
operated on?"
surgery.
He would have been already back, and he'd have been there at the start of the season. And I just think, in the 4 games Martinez did come back for, he showed exactly what we've been missing while he was in the treatment room. So I just think looking forward, Ten Hag going to find some solutions, for the upcoming games against Villa, Luton, Fulham, City, and many more fixtures. So I'm just thinking there's a couple of options, and whether everyone agrees. First option would be, do we deploy Luke Shaw at left centre back? And certainly a role that he's familiar with this Shaw, and for some spells of the 2022-23 campaign, he was at the heart of the United back line, so he played there with great effect and definitely did it right in that position. So I think Ten Hag's always known to favour a left-footed centre back, which Luke Shaw can be, and you can find those passing angles and play out from the back. So I'm just thinking, can Shaw temporarily fill in for Martinez? The other option was, utilising Varane and Maguire partnership. While it doesn't seem the strongest partnership on paper, it might be the best United can do until Martinez comes back in 2 months' time. But in Maguire and Varane, you wouldn't say they're going to be outdone aerial or physically, but and they can adapt in the air, but and certainly able to work well with one another, and experienced operators as well. So that was another option I was considering. Also, Victor Lindelof, he's only just got back, making him a starter, but do you pair him up alongside Rafa Varane or Harry Maguire? So you're hoping now he's fully fit, he'll be raring to go, and hopefully he can replicate the good performance he once displayed. I think my last option was going to be a bit out there. You've got Johnny Evans and Casemiro's options as their centre back. I know Casemiro's played. I think it was in the League Cup game. He played in centre back, and he just looked at ease there. Yeah. And I'm just thinking, you've got Johnny Evans as an option, but there's Casemiro as well. So I'm just interested in your opinion now. Martinez is out. Who's how would you expect Ten Hag to set up that centre back pairing? So would it be Shaw as a left centre back, Varane and Maguire, or bringing back Lindelof, or using Johnny Evans or Casemiro as an option?
For me, I think as much as how good he is centre back, but I think we would miss Shaw as a left back than what he would be as a centre back. Simply because if we put Shaw at left centre back, it means you'd have to shift Delo over to left back and put Aaron Wan-Bissaka right back. It's just too much, if you know what I mean. I think we're going to miss Martinez, and you saw that in the last couple of games how United start to play, and a lot of it does come out from Martinez, Casemiro, Bruno, and then Højlund. That's the spine, right? We're certainly going to miss Martinez, and it's no coincidence in the last 2 games where we've actually won the games. All right, Wolves was a bit touch and go, but majority of the game we were actually just better than Wolves. They scored out of nothing really. But the games that Martinez has played, we've looked very comfortable defensively. We're going to miss that, obviously. But then you would say that I'm still a big advocate in Harry Maguire. I still think he can do a job. I still think he's good enough to be a centre-back. He can certainly play out from the front. All right, yeah, he's a little bit slow. On the spin, he's not as great. Aerially, he's fantastic. He can still play with his left foot and right foot. He's still good offensively for corners for us. So I still think Harry Maguire can do it. Lindelof can also come in and do a job. Varane can still do a job. And really, the worst case scenario is, you would play Shaw at centre back. But I think most of the squad is back now. For me, I don't think necessarily it means who you play centre back. I think the most important position is the person in front of the 2 centre backs. Now, Casemiro is back along with Mainu, which basically means that the midfield can help the two centre-back partnerships. Do you remember when Ollie was manager, and I think we shipped so many goals? Who did we lose? Oh, it was Tottenham. We lost to Spurs 6-1. And after that game, he played Lindelof and Maguire, and then he put Scott and Fred in front of them to protect the two. And after that, we ended up pretty much never conceding goals. We never really leaked goals. So it really does depend on how you set up the midfield as well. And with Casemiro and Mainu back, you'd think that the two centre-backs, or whoever you play, are going to be sort of protected a little bit. I still think you still need to have Shaw left back. You still need to have Dalot or Aaron Wan-Bissaka right back. They're their best positions. We play really good with them two wide, especially against West Ham. They couldn't really control Shaw and Dalot. For me, I think we've got enough centre-back partnerships and enough experience to not rely on Shaw coming in as the left centre-back. I think Maguire, Lindelof, Varane and Evans, there's enough experience there to coast us through the next 4 or 5 weeks. Is it actually 8 weeks, though? I'm not sure if I thought that was the worst case scenario, that it was 8 weeks. Is it actually 8 weeks now? Is that confirmed?
It's sidelined up to 8 weeks. So we're looking at.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Oh, okay.
Beginning of April,
I mean...
earliest you can get back in. So we're looking at the last 6 weeks of the season, which might prove key for us. Those last 6 weeks.
And then he needs to come back, get fit, and then the season's going to be over. And then there's pre-season. Yeah, I mean, you might as well just write off the season on Martinez, really. What a shame.
Hopefully not.
But yeah, I think there's enough. I think we've got enough centre-backs, enough experience there for us to go, okay, yeah, we can play Maguire, Lindelof, Varane, whoever it may be that in that position, and not really suffer too much. I think there's enough there. I hope.
Right, I was set some homework by Barry, and I didn't think I'd need it for this show, Andy, so I haven't finished it. Yes. So
remember,
I've half finished it, right? And
you actually do it.
I'm halfway there, so I've looked at
this homework.
Yeah, homework on this show, mate. I don't even get paid, so I have to do it for free.
It's not like I don't do homework. We all do homework of our own sorts. All it was, Bainesy, was he was giving us some information about Harry Maguire and what he was doing, and I just asked him to find some other stats because he was always bigging up this one. And I just wanted to know what the others were like. So go on, Danny boy, what you got for us then?
So
he hasn't done it.
I'm halfway through, so I've got enough to give an answer, and I'll give the rest in opinion.
He's handed it in late.
so this season, I believe Onana's on 7 clean sheets. Maguire is
7. I thought it was more than that.
I think he's one away from top, who's got 8.
Oh,
he might
okay.
be 8 and 9 now. I'm not sure after the West Ham game.
Yeah.
Maguire's been involved in 5 of them this season when he's played 90 minutes. So it's no coincidence that Maguire gets injured and we start leaking goals. It just seems to happen that way. You could argue that the teams that he kept the clean sheets against, you would expect us to keep clean sheets against, if that makes sense. But then Martinez has come back in. We conceded, where is it? 2 at Newport, 3 at Wolves, even though he only played a few minutes. He's basically, and then before that, he's only kept 1 clean sheet this season. And he only played, I think it was 71 minutes of that game.
I would like to know the 5 clean sheets
that Maguire's got.
Yeah.
It was...
that's the Premier League, right?
Yeah. Fulham away, Luton at home, Everton away, and then West Ham at home. And then the other one was... Let me find it.
I'm trying to think of it. No, that was...
I think they're the comments in the head. I think also we need to look at when Maguire's not playing, how many goals we conceded through set pieces. Because I think Maguire is severely underrated when it comes to defensive set piees.
Yeah, so
he wins a lot of headers.
I'm looking at that. That's what I was currently looking at. But it genuinely looks like that when Maguire misses out, we concede more goals than when Martinez misses out, if that makes sense. Right, so Martinez played 86 minutes against Wolves, we conceded 3. He played 27 minutes against Tottenham, we conceded 2. He played 89 minutes versus Newport, we conceded 2. Then before his injury, we conceded 3 at Brighton, 3 at Arsenal, 2 at Forest, 2 at Spurs. His only clean sheet this season was 45 minutes against Wolves on the first game of the season when he went off injured. So I'm not saying he's a bad defender. I'm saying that, yes, we've missed him, but he's not been fully fit. And then even when he's come back, he's not been fully fit. So we've basically made do without him for this season. So Maguire, when he's come in and he's played, we've done quite well at keeping clean sheets and looked half decent. I genuinely, with an absolute passion, will be furious if Luke Shaw starts at left centre back.
I don't think he will.
I can't,
because there was a good spell of Maguire this season where he did really well for
we've
us.
spent too long this season for me putting square pegs in round holes.
Yeah,
because we've had to, and I understand when we have to. But when you've got Luke Shaw back, he's got to play on the left. And as we saw with Maguire the other day, if he does get caught, like he misjudged the header slightly, even though it was a hard ball to pick out the sky, Dalot covered for him. So you need the players around you to sometimes pick up your bad work. So for me, I would go Maguire, Varane. I think if anybody's going to start left centre back out of them, it's going to be Varane because he's stronger on his left foot than Maguire is on his left foot, and then just keep Shaw and Dalot because it's a consistent. Whether we want Martinez in or out, which I personally I'll have him in every single one if he was fully fit. But at least it's a consistent back four still. That we could use that till the end of the season, not a problem. Onana and then Shaw, Shaw, Varane, Maguire, Dalot. That's how I would do it because I agree with Danny. It doesn't matter who you pick in defence. If the players in front aren't going to do the work and your centre midfielders aren't going to do the work, any defence is going to struggle. So as long as the team are prepared to work as a unit, that back four should be good enough. But I genuinely won't be happy if Luke Shaw comes in left centre back because we lose far too much then on the left side. I read somewhere that Wan-Bissaka might be injured as well.
He was ill, I think it was.
Yeah, he's missed training.
Like everyone else on this earth. He's just ill.
It seems to be. But then you're putting Dalot left back.
Andrew's all right.
Right back. Yeah, well, let's see what happens next week. But yeah, no, for me, I'd go Maguire, Varane. It makes the most sense. As long as people are going to cover for any... It's just about playing it smart as well. If we keep the ball well enough, we won't get broken.
Shaw and Dalot, for me, they've played themselves into this team. I think I've not been the biggest fan of Dalot, but he was brilliant against West Ham. I think he's played himself into the team. We need to keep him right back. Shifting him left back because Shaw then goes left centre back. It just makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
On Sunday against West Ham, Dalot was at right back, but he was coming a lot into the midfield.
Oh, he was coming in midfield,
And he was just creating a lot of opportunities. So it sort of leaves the right back position a bit vacant, but then other players are covering across. But Dalot has been finding opportunities. He's moved inwards and into the midfield as well, which I noticed quite a lot.
I think it's an interesting thing for sure. I mean, I'm so taken with everything that we were talking about with the, as they're being called, the baby trinity, that I kind of almost wonder if this is worth a shout this season. Just give him a go. What is like the worst that could happen if Willy Cambrala was given a go in that defence? Like, why not?
He did
it once.
Did an okay job against West Ham away, even though we lost. I thought he was probably one of the standouts, of that game. So
I would love this, by the way, because there should be enough. If it's like I would, if you wanted to start Cambrala over Maguire, there should be enough with Varane, Casemiro, Shaw, and Arna to keep him on track, keep him in the right place. Then he's definitely got the pace as well. I mean, even Maguire could do that. So I'd be well up for that. I think for me, the biggest issue is if we can somehow pull a result out against Villa, the conversation of a top four finish might be back on. So he's definitely going to. I don't think he'll throw.
It's just one of those really interesting things. Do you remember all the way back when we had Gerard Piqué, And he was always
you're
like
talking
nailed on to being
years
this
now.
brilliant defender. And then we just got rid of him and sent him to Barcelona, where he did really, really well.
Yeah.
And it just seems like we have these things where we've got these talents that are there and they just end up elsewhere. And I know that PK is a slightly different sort of kettle of fish, really. But I don't know. I feel like it feels like the year to give them a chance, because if we're sitting here and going, we're going to have a bit of a clear out in the summer and there's going to be some people that aren't going to make the cut, then makes sense to me. If we can have a ready-made centre back rather than having to go out talking about FFP, we haven't got to go out and spend 60, 70 million. Dare we spend another 60, 70 million on a player like Harry Maguire and get another defender in, or, an Anthony, which is where we've been putting this sort of money. I don't know. I think that would be a really good idea. And as Bestie says here, Krambala does look the goods, and I think he does. He's another one in the Mainu fashion of just someone who just comes in, gets on with it, doesn't seem overawed by it. We'll just say here to Amrabat was obviously back in training last Saturday. That was his first game, first appearance back, but he obviously didn't make it into the squad. Probably because he was tired, jet lag and all that sort of stuff. It would make sense. So I would be shocked if he wasn't in the 16 for this weekend. But we'll see.
I hope he doesn't mean like Amrabat to left back, Luke Shaw to left centre mid.
Oh
then I'll
God,
cry.
no! I can't.
Honestly,
again.
I'll be in tears.
One can only hope.
Again.
One can
no, we've got enough players back from injury now to hopefully not do that.
We shouldn't need it.
I mean, we shouldn't.
I think it is disappointing to lose Martinez. I do, but we have had to manage most of the season without him. What's a couple more months between friends? I suppose it's better that he gets sorted and comes back rather than just write it off. It's one of those seasons.
Also, is it top 4 for Champions? I thought it was top 5 this year.
Well, it's top 4 at the minute. We could get top 5, but because we had such a disastrous Champions League campaign, and so did Newcastle, and going out.
Does it depend on how the English teams get on?
It's the coefficient.
Oh shit!
I think
so
at the
it
minute,
basically means a Liverpool City need to go really far in the tournament.
And Arsenal, yeah.
Oh, I know. Sorry, yeah.
We should really look forward to Thursday night European.
Sorry, not Liverpool. I mean, who's in the Champions League? City and Arsenal need to get far. Don't they?
I think Italy and Spain are the top 2 coefficients at the minute.
Yeah. Well, there we go. But yes, that is the midfield, and that takes us. That's 3 of the 4 topics completed. So we left this one till last because obviously, we've all got really, really happy thinking about the 3 young players and all that sort of jazz, and then we just sort of brought it down a little bit with what would you do with Old Trafford, and then we started talking about that might get knocked down or redone, and then we got down this one if there's no Martinez. So we thought we'd finish on a really happy subject. So Dan, why don't you sit here and speak to the world about the positivity that we're about to spread?
I love a good happy subject. I really do. It really makes me happy.
I don't like this. I don't like it. Can we change it?
Absolutely not.
Subject.
I need to know whether I'm the only one with terrible takes in terms of no matter what people tell me, I just can't get on the same level in terms of what I've seen over the last decade. So it's any time you've been watching football, basically, I'm asking. So it's not just, it ain't got to be modern player, it can be an older player. It's just basically like growing up, did your friends rate a player and you just thought, nah, I don't, where have you got that opinion from? Even though, like, I know mine's a shocking take. Like 90% of the footballing world.
I've got a really bad one.
You're talking rubbish when I say it. So I grew up with a lad that didn't like Ryan Giggs. Hated him. Wanted him sold, wanted him dropped. And I used to always sit there and think, I will never have an opinion that bad. That is the lowest of the low in terms of opinion. So basically my question, I'll start with mine, is basically, is there a player that you just don't rate, even though you probably should and everybody else does, but you just can't? So mine is Eden Hazard. And that I honestly, so many people go crazy when I say it. They're like, "Oh, you're mad!
You don't rate Eden Hazard."
It's not that I don't rate him, right? I'm going to explain myself. It's because when you say to someone, "How good was Eden Hazard?" Right? I get told that he was as good as Ronaldo and Messi, and
no,
people genuinely believe that, and they'll say stuff like, even now they will say, "Oh, he's better than Salah." Eden Hazard better than Mo Salah is madness to me. So like no matter what, like people, and honestly, I've been back, I've checked his stats, which are incredibly impressive. And then when you watch him play and he just glides across the pitch and he's dribbling, do you know what I mean? Everything that says he's a great footballer, but because he was rated so highly, like when you talk to Chelsea fans and even some other fans, I just can't get on board with it. There was never at any point in Hazard's career that I thought this lad's going to be on the same level as Messi and Ronaldo. Like he's been as good as like Son, Mane, even Sane from City, but he's never been sat at the top table for me. And yes, I know it's a terrible take, but I'm sticking
I think
to
mine's
it.
worse.
I just don't rate him as highly as other people. I don't know why. I just don't.
Well, it's very interesting you come out with some of these. This is right into a Lumber's wheelhouse. You've literally walked into a Lumber's house of fun here.
Oh,
he's
no.
always on.
We are gonna
He's
see
always on the
some-
top of that. Sure.
We are
Where's
going to see
Tone?
some absolute belters coming from him, I'm sure. And I'm sure you've got more to Lumber, so throw him out there. But he doesn't rate Luke Shaw. He's obviously not going to get on very well with Tone. Georgie Best has gone for Slippy G.
Slippy G.
Which is a very interesting shout. I've got to be honest. When you mentioned this topic, I genuinely thought you were just talking about Man United players, which
Same here.
That's what I
wasn't a huge fan of. So as a result of that, I struggled, and then I just remembered the player that made me probably the angriest, and I couldn't see it. So I kind of, and it is a United player. It was someone who I just could not get behind, and who really did just make my blood boil every time I saw him.
Jemba.
No, I like Jemba. So good, named him twice. I don't mind him at all. There are very few Man United players that I'm not a huge fan of. Like Angel Di Maria, not a fan because that bloke was just an absolute numpty. But I just couldn't understand why this guy kept getting picked. I was really struggling with it, and that was Tom Cleverley. And I
didn't think he was bad.
Well, I didn't think he was good. I couldn't stand him. And every time I saw him being picked, I'd just sit there and I'd literally swear. I'd be literally like, for God's sake, why is he playing? I could do better.
Really?
I rarely say that. But I just didn't think he offered anything. That man got 79 appearances for Manchester United.
Yeah, I was going to say he's got a lot. Yeah.
It was criminal to me. Absolutely criminal. When you think about the midfielders we've had at this club, I don't think he should have been anywhere near.
He was good.
He liked Bebe. Just could not bring myself to like Tom Cleverley. How mad is that? He's the only one. Him and Paul Pogba. I struggled with Paul Pogba, especially when his parting gift to us was sitting in a cardboard box for some advert. And that was the last thing he did. I think that's literally the most notable thing he's done over the last 2 years. But yeah, Tom Cleverley it was for me. So that was the guy I picked. I'm going to have a little think.
I'm going to let Andy go first.
See, because when I built this title, I was thinking of United players, and now I'm just been debating who.
Yeah, I've got one.
I don't really rate. Oh, it's going to be a bit I'm not a fan of Jack Grealish. I just don't get. I just think he's becoming predictable in his game. I'm just like, you can see what he did for Villa. He got them out of like relegation battles and everything. But City, it's almost like he's doing the same thing he kept doing at Villa. I'm just like, you know exactly what he's going to do on the pitch. You know, I'm just thinking opposition players have worked you out, and I'm just like, you need to start changing your game up. But I'm thinking, are you really worth that? I don't know, is exactly 100 million City paid for him, but I'm just thinking, was you really worth that? I know we were interested in him, and I thought at the time when we might report it to be having, I thought 40, 50 million at most, but 100 million was like, I'm just thinking, Jack Grealish, I'm just like, yes, he's won, the treble at City, so he can throw that back in my face.
I mean, do you not think that makes it worse, Andy? That makes it worse for me because that instantly gets him put on a higher ledge than he should be because he offers not a lot for Man City. If you compared like Grealish with Foden, Grealish is no way near. But then they're going to remember that he won a treble.
Doku now that's coming, and he's keeping Grealish out.
Doku looks amazing, yeah.
And he's overtaking Jack Grealish, and I'm just thinking, Jack, you need to start doing something slightly. as much as I can't stand this ex-player and pundit Graham Souness, I just think I can sort of agree with your point on he's been making on Grealish. Like when he did about Pogba as well. Like, yeah, even looking back now, Souness said that I wanted him to fulfil his potential. Sometimes with Souness, I just feel like he was going sometimes a bit too hard on Pogba. And I'm just thinking this is like feels a bit too personal. But let's say when Pogba was at the club, we defended it at him, but now he's left. It's just like looking back on his second time at United, it's like, well, it didn't work out the way we wanted, and it was 90 million, you could say, down the drain. But yeah, one player I'd say down there, but I just feel like Grealish hasn't reached. I think you could go and whether he can reach another high level in his game. I don't know whether he can or not, but yes. But that would be outside of United. I'm just thinking if he was a United player, like Barry said, Di Maria, Alexis Sanchez. I'm just thinking what we thought we were getting, and just cause disruption in that dressing room. Okay, the wages are reported on, but he'd never quite fulfilled what we did at Arsenal, and he came over to United and he scored like a handful of goals and did nothing else. But thinking. Looking at this up, I was thinking going back even further, like even some of the goalkeepers we've had. Well, even after Schmeichel, I'm just thinking the likes of Taibbi and
I was just about to say Taibbi.
Yeah, I was thinking. I think he had a brilliant debut against Liverpool, and then it just all went downhill from there. I think there's that famous goal Matt Letizia just scored past him, and then I think he's conceded 4 against Chelsea, and it was like.
Time's up.
Not for me. You're going back to Italy, and I think we sold him for about 2 million. So, but yeah, so that's my choice, and I'm playing. Well, Premier League player. I don't think.
Okay, so when Dan initially said the question, I thought United, and my one was Alexis Sanchez. However, upon hearing the advanced part of the question, and this is going to be, I don't really want to say it because it's not
can't wait for this.
It's going to be controversial, but I really don't rate Phil Foden.
Oh.
I really don't rate. I don't get the hype. I know this season he's been decent, and I know he's just scored a hat-trick, so it doesn't really make sense of what I'm saying. But hear me out. If you take Foden out of the City machine that oil that well-run engine and put him anywhere in the Premier League, he is not doing it. I'm sorry, he's just not doing it. He's not. He could come up with a magic moment. I'll give you that. Internationally, can't really judge him internationally because Southgate's a bit of a moron now, but. I don't rate him. I don't know why. I do not rate him. And the perfect example that I can give, and it probably can maybe fight my corner, is if you look at Raheem Sterling. Sterling at City was like a world beater. He was scoring goals for fun, left, right, centre, head, whatever, right? He's come out of that City machine, that well-oiled machine, gone to Chelsea. Has he lit up the place like he did at City? No. And I genuinely believe that if you take Phil Foden, any one of those players out of that team and you drop them into any other Premier League team, they're not doing it. They're not doing what they're not going to replicate what they're doing at City at any other team. I just think that's how well set up they are under a Pep Guardiola team. But that's just me. Of course, people are going to say I'm wrong. I don't know whether there's English bias to it. I really do not see the whole attraction of Phil Foden. But
out there for Raheem Sterling.
I mean,
do you know what? If I was going for my hot take on this one, the player I would choose is Kylian Mbappe. I don't know.
That is a very
controversial
one.
How he gets all of the plaudits that he does.
Barry, come on, man.
I
can't back that one.
I don't think he's there with it. I really don't.
Didn't he score a hat-trick in a World Cup final?
In a final?
Listen, we all have good games, don't we? And that's where he had it. Honestly.
Oh, no, Barry, no, that's a bad one.
Listen, I'm not saying he's
terrible.
I can't
believe you've done this.
No. You said the premise was you don't rate as highly as other people. People are telling me he's this world beater. I don't think he's this world beater. I think he's a
But
class
he
player.
is. He's
I
won the
don't
World
think
Cup. He
he's-
scored in a final of the World Cup he won, and then he scored a hat trick the other from the next final.
But
Oh,
could he?
Bestie's on my look at this. Bestie's on my level.
No, I don't know. Man.
We might not agree on
Very
women's football
hardcore.
attendances, but on Kylian Mbappe, we are one.
I was going to say, on the other hand, with Mbappe, like Real Madrid caught him, what he's asked Real Madrid to give him, like, well, Real Madrid haven't got that money, so yes, Saudi could offer it to him, but like, well, where's your motivation? Is your motivation money, or do you want to play football and win trophies at the highest level?
I think it's both. If I'm being honest,
it is, but it's. If you like ranking like leagues, you got the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga. I'm seeing Saudi League is not in the top 3 leagues that you're gonna, you want to be in playing in the best league. So I'm just thinking what he's asking Real Madrid to give him. I think we reported 120 million signing on fee, wages are astronomical. I'm thinking Real Madrid, I haven't got that much money, so I don't know where he thinks they're going to get it from to pay him. So, and I think with Real Madrid, they've got Jude Bellingham who's just smashing the place up at the moment. What he's doing there, and you got Vinicius as well alongside him. I'm just thinking, do Real Madrid actually?
Mm-hmm. And you know what? From what I remember of that World Cup final, they weren't great goals. It's not like he's going out there and doing a Messi or
it was
Ronaldo.
2 penalties and a volley. Let's be honest,
Yeah,
but
2 penalties.
I'm
he
not having
slept
I
through
can
it.
score 2 penalties. You just got to send the goalkeeper.
No, but no, I can't believe this. I can't. No. I thought
I'm
my
about
one
to
with
sit here
Foden was
and
bad.
listen to you have a go at Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, like an Eden Hazard.
No.
And I'm saying politely. And then the minute I say Kylian Mbappe, you're like, oh, God, nah, mate. I ain't having it. There is no way we are talking about him. We talk about people that scored hat tricks. He's not on Jeff Hurst level in terms of scoring a hat trick in a World Cup final. That's a hat trick.
I can't.
Brazilian Ronaldo, proper Ronaldo, Messi. These are names that you're going to put on the top tier of it. Kylian Mbappe is not on my Mount Rushmore.
He needs to go. Okay.
His attitude's appalling.
Hang on a sec. If he goes to Madrid and lights the place up, would you change your aspect on it?
My aspect is always willing to be changed. I'm not so dug in and entrenched on an opinion that I'd never change it.
But it just depends what league he's in. Then I think is where you're getting at, right?
I don't think he's showing us this world class level that everybody's telling us that he is. He's supposed to be setting the world alight, and I've not seen him set the world alight. I've seen him do all right in a World Cup, but one World Cup is not a swallow
Barry.
make.
Barry.
I agree. I agree to a sense in that if Mbappe stays in France or goes to Saudi, you can
it's done.
You can't ever put him at the table with Messi, Ronaldo, best.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Ronaldo.
I will agree with that.
Yeah. He needs to come over to one of the top 2 or 3.
He did.
Played against us when Ollie was in charge, didn't he?
They pocketed him.
Yeah, but come on. But at that point you had Wan-Bissaka, who was in the form of his life. No one was getting past him. I think you could put the best wingers against
top tier world class talent
like
like Kylian Mbappe, who's better than the world, who can beat everybody with a broom shoved up his backside. You would expect him to be able to take Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
No.
And how often did Lionel Messi come and destroy English teams? Just click of the fingers.
Well, he destroyed us a few times.
Yeah, this is what I mean. I do agree with the point in a sense. I'm so glad I asked this question. Mine weren't the worst.
Should have just stuck with Tom Cleverly. No one was having a go at me for that.
Yeah, no, they weren't, to be fair.
But I've sat here and I've tried to think about it like from a proper point of view. But I've never watched Kylian Mbappe and sat there and gone, Christ, he's a great player. I've never done it.
Hold on. What? You've never seen a game with Mbappe and gone, oh my God, he's amazing.
Correct. I've gone, he's all right. I've never got he's amazing.
Well,
Barry.
Barry.
And let's remember he did lose that World Cup final as well.
He did, I know. But even in the other World Cup where it was his debut final and he scored, he was really good in that final as well. And there's been some Paris, I think they played City and he was just lighting up the place. There's certainly been games where you just think, oh well, yeah, he's the next best thing. Oh, what game was it where he scored a brace and everyone was ranting and raving about him? I think it was City. No, I can't.
But the best players do it consistently, Bainesy. Like, we could sit here and say Rashford's done that. We can sit here and say Martial's done that. They've all shown up.
I get that.
You've got to do
No,
it
I get that.
consistently. You're going to be mentioned.
I think your opinion. I think your opinion comes from because he plays in the French league, and if he plays in La Liga or the Prem, and he's doing what he's doing at PSG for a Prem team.
Now, here's a nice way of switching it around. Who's the player we do rate and we think never got their due respect? I'm going to let it run on for this extra couple of minutes because actually I think that's a nicer way to end it.
Yeah, this is a nice way to end. Go on. Okay,
I'm going to go do some homework about this, Bainesy, to prove to you exactly.
For me, quickly, I'll get it out there. Michael Carrick doesn't get his flowers. Does not get his flowers. I think generally, I think he was better than Frank Lampard. I think he was better than Gerrard. I actually think he was better than Scholes, but he just doesn't get his flowers. He was unbelievable, but he controlled games. He had left foot, right foot, head. I know Scholes did this, but he controlled it. And if there was an interview recently with Scholes, and he said the one player that he wanted to play with was Michael Carrick. It was him. Michael Carrick was the glue. You speak to Fergie about him. You speak to Jose about him. And you even look at his managerial career, what McTominay talks about him. He looked at football just in a different aspect, almost like Xabi Alonso. You know how, anyone that you speak to who's played with Xabi Alonso, I always say the best player that I've ever played with is Xabi Alonso. Anyone that's played with Carrick, they all say Michael Carrick was the player. He was top dollar, but he doesn't get, he's never mentioned in one of the greatest midfielders in the Premier League. It's Gerrard who's never won it for some reason. And obviously, I know Lampard's great, but I generally, Michael Carrick is the one that I rate so highly, but he never gets a mention anyway. You can argue amongst yourselves. I think he was the best midfielder ever.
Yeah,
in the Prem. In the Prem, not ever. I think that was a bit too much.
I say Michael Carrick was so underrated and just didn't get the plaudits he should have. And if you had to say to choose between Scholes and Carrick, I'd like to choose both. I couldn't separate them both because they both bring their qualities to the football pitch, and I'm just like, Carrick, he's like he won everything at United, so you can't. But you just, when you're talking about players, his name doesn't even get mentioned. Lots of other great players, and I just think like another player like Andy Cole. I'm thinking he's one of the highest scorers in the Premier League in history, and I'm just thinking he doesn't get talked about a lot when talking about great goal scorers in the Premier League. I'm just like, doesn't get that recognition I think he should deserve as well. So there's a lot of players out there that just, I think like we carry it up. It's not they go unnoticed. They just do all the hard work, and people don't necessarily appreciate them enough when they are playing. It's only when you look back and go, you did all this, and now we're like, oh, we appreciate you a lot more now for what you've done for your club as well.
I've just made a note here because I've started just looking at a bit of research for Barry. So the one on the left is appearances for Mbappe in the French league. The one in the middle is goals, and the one on the right is assists. So in 238 games, he scored 186 goals and got 71 assists.
Point out, right? When you Google Kylian Mbappe's name, it tells you immediately the first thing that's coming up. Number one, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Barcelona can't wait to get rid of him. And Deco's sitting there saying, Real Madrid, if you buy him, it's going to make your team worse. They are not three things that should be said about the best player on the planet.
No, I agree with that. What I'm saying is
you can sit there and talk about your numbers in your Farmers League. Come here in the Premier League and do it.
So
I ain't having it. This is French league. It's like playing in the conference, chaps. I'm not having it.
No.
The French league record.
The French
record.
PSG with all the money.
It's
name me some big games. I used to do a predictions league. You'd sit there, you'd go looking for these big fixtures in the continent. There's barely any in France.
There's
Where are
one.
you sitting there and looking for a really big game in France? It doesn't exist. There's about 3 teams. It's like Scotland. If you're not Rangers and Celtic, it's not that exciting.
That's good. That is controversial.
Would you
Fucking hell.
post that? Would you sit there and say to me, "Oh, Ali McCoy scored 186 goals in 238 games in Scotland"? Would you be sitting there and telling me he's a world-class footballer, or would you be sitting there and telling me, "Well, of course he did. He scored 907 of them against St Mirren"?
So I'll go.
Exactly. Who?
I'll go to his Champions League record: 69 games, 43 goals, 28 assists.
But he hasn't won
Just as good.
Yeah, the Champions League. You've seen the group stages,
just
right?
as good.
You see the group stages where you're playing against like FC Hard.
Oh, Barry.
You've seen that, right? You've seen
I
that,
can't
right?
believe this.
But
How
I
many
do
has he scored in that
agree
last
in
16?
a way.
Get the
He
last
does-
16. You can't just
What?
sit there and give me all that in the group stages. People
I don't
score
think they
loads.
ever make the last 16 or semi-finals. They normally get knocked out, don't they?
reached the semi-finals.
Well, you're the one coming out with the stats. You can make the stats prove anything. We know that.
PSG reached the final again.
Lost Bayern. Kings
Bayern.
and Scots.
Yeah,
that's it.
Only goal. But I mean,
Yeah.
I said I've seen Mbappe live. You know, was it 2019 when PSG won 2-0, and then we went and did the
Rude all day long.
away in
Van
Paris.
Nistelrooy, exactly. So if you're telling me Ruud Van Nistelrooy is better than Kylian Mbappe, then I'm sorry,
No,
Kylian
but-
Mbappe is not.
Rude came in at a point where the team was just hungry and they needed a striker. I mean, Rude was great, but come on.
I would suggest Mbappe couldn't even pick his boots up, let alone start to shine them.
One
Not
thing
having
on
it.
it, one thing on Mbappe. I think I was surprised when I watched him live. I thought I knew he was quick in terms of pace, but that night I thought, wow.
When you watch, I must admit,
like Smalling's like struggling to cope, and I thought Mbappe was having him all day long. I was like,
he's very quick.
struggle.
Yeah, very
Mike
quick.
Smalling was struggling with Kylian Mbappe. Maidstone United's Mike Smalling.
Yes, Mike Smalling. Yeah,
It's my local.
Right. So anyway, my most underrated player would be Gary Neville. By a huge distance.
But to be honest, he doesn't rate himself.
Yeah, which is mental because what he's achieved.
It is mental.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I was having an argument the other week because Ferdinand and someone else were talking about Walker being miles better than Neville, and it just baffles me that it's so. I don't know. It's recency bias that's the problem.
Yeah.
Gary Neville was such a good defender.
He was very good, and
then
very good going forward.
Well, you see all these history goals that are put on Man United FC, and 95% of them over the last 3 days, Gary Neville's sending the crossing for the assist. He's doing the overlap, and that people like, Kyle Walker invented the overlap. No, he fucking didn't. Gary Neville's been doing it for
Gary Neville's been doing that since when Walker's been in nappies.
So yeah, for me, Gary Neville just doesn't get the credit he deserves. And honestly, I would say
He doesn't give himself credit. He said he was the worst footballer carried by great footballers.
Yeah, but that's just he's the man. You look at Scholes as well. Scholes will say the same. He sat in an interview and said, "Oh, he couldn't have done what Gerrard did," which is just nonsense because Scholes never dragged us through big games as he was lashing in a 35-yard goal against Barcelona in Champions League semi-finals or whatever it was.
Yeah,
of course he could.
Last minute goals against City.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He did it on a weekly basis. But yeah, for me, I think Gary Neville deserves loads more credit than he gets.
I think Gary said, I'm sure he said it. He said he wasn't the most technically gifted player like Giggsy or Beckham. What he did was work hard. At his game.
Can you imagine if some of the players these days had the work ethic of Gary Neville? If Pogba had Gary Neville's work ethic.
Yeah, but midfielders don't have Gary Neville work ethic, do they? Because midfielders think they're the best things on the earth.
The most have Pogba work ethic.
I think Gary Neville was brilliant, and I agree with what Bestie said there. Probably the best right back I've seen. I mean, Paul Parker was probably the best up until then. But I think, again, like you say, he's just humble more than anything else. He never bigs himself up. He always is very self-deprecating. And I think that's a good sign when it comes to being one of the best. I've got 3 all Man United players.
Okay.
I'm not going outside of the Man United wheelhouse because people start getting all frustrated with me when I start doing that. Actually, I think the most underrated person is Kylian Mbappe. Clearly a world beater. Darren Fletcher
Yeah,
gives me a fan.
I can agree with that one.
On reflection, I think he's not given as much respect as maybe he deserves. My next one is Andy Cole. I think within the club he gets quite a bit, but he also gets a lot of flack. You know, the fact that people would say he'd have to have 7 shots before he scores a goal, but actually his record is just phenomenal, not just for United,
Unbelievable,
elsewhere. But if you thought Kylian Mbappe was a good one, you're going to love this one. Eric Cantona. I still
underrated.
Underrated in terms of outside of Man United. We all know that he's the
I
best
think that's a
player.
fair shout.
Right.
I think outside
Okay.
of Man United, because again, recency bias, I don't think people truly understand how important Eric Cantona was to us. The fact he won the Premier League with Leeds, he left Leeds, and we've not heard from him since, really. I mean, you know, Dan James playing for him recently. That's one of our rejects. Hasn't brought him to a title. He then came to us, and I think there was only one season where he didn't win the Premier League.
Yeah.
You
That's
sit there and
he
you
was
think,
suspended.
right? So you think about all of these players, the impact that he had. You talk about Ferguson. I think if Fergie doesn't buy Eric Cantona, we're going to be waiting for a Premier League, and we may not have had all of the Fergie years. But I think he was recently, obviously, voted into the Hall of Fame. But even when I did that, you know, again, we said we were doing this prediction league, we predicted who might go in it. And I was saying Cantona, and these boys were going, really? Was he that important? And this is what I mean. It's like, I don't think people really recognise, because they don't really recognise just how important he was to that Manchester United title winning side.
I think you've got to put Beck's up there then as well. Because I don't think many people rate Beck's.
But yes, he can be underrated. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I actually agree with that one. That's a fair take, to be fair, Barry.
I was going to say, I've just got one more underrated player, United player, and I just thought, Ji-sung Park, he was such a workhorse at United.
Yeah.
And those big games, you know, he put in a real shift for Fergie would be preparing him, so like, you might not be playing in the other games, but I want you ready for these games. So I'd say Ji-sung Park was,
Doesn't Fergie still say that we would have won the final against Barcelona if he had put Park on Messi? I mean, it's a big shout. That's a big shout. He still firmly believes that we would have won that final if Park was on Messi. That's just speaks for itself, really, doesn't it? I can't actually think of any non-United player that's underrated. It really doesn't spring to mind, but I know there's a few out there if people sort of just message in. But there's quite a few underrated non-United players. I think Wayne Rooney's also up there. A lot of people don't rate outside of United, don't rate him. It's only until you read out his stats where he was top goal scorer for England, top goal scorer for Man United, which is no bloody mean feat, is it? I mean, when you look at the players United have had over the years, going back to the 50s, 60s, and he's the top goal scorer for the club. I think he's very underrated as a footballer. But yeah, non-United, I can't really think of any names. I think that's me being a bit biased, but.
Well, I've got to be honest, we are definitely going to clip the bit where I said about Kylian Mbappe, and then Bainesy goes, I agree with you, because that's going to be goals for sure. Bestie going, quite frankly, if I had to pick one player to start a football team out of every player ever, I pick Paul Scholes, which does make me wonder why your username is not P Scholes 10-1-0-7. But I can't really disagree with what you're saying. He was a fantastic little player. And he also mentions Phil Neville and Wes Brown, who are, of course, two very interesting players as well. Listen, it's been an hour and 34 minutes. The topic night has done everything it was supposed to do. We've had lots of debate. What can we say? There are people sitting here who are not convinced that the women's game is going to grow too big, and that's absolutely fine. Just like there's people sitting here believing that Kylian Mbappe is not all he's cracked up to be. So, opinions, that's what it's all about. They're just like bottoms, aren't they? Everybody's got one. But what I love about it is that we've all had a good laugh and a joke. We've enjoyed it. We've took the mick out of each other, and we're all still mates at the end of it. There's no arguing. There's no dramas. We're all entitled to our opinions. I say that, Baines is probably going to mug me right off when we go on, but I'm just going to remind him about it.
No. It's your opinion. It's a crap one, but it's your opinion.
Like I say, I got to agree with it. I'm not forcing it on you. I'm just answering the question I was asked. If you hadn't have asked, I'd never have said it. But there we go. So listen, great stuff. I really enjoyed it, boys. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been awesome. Bainesy, cheers. Andrew, cheers again. And of course, Dan, thank you as ever. We're going to be back at the weekend. Hopefully, I'll be feeling a little bit better. Saturday night, we've got the Aston Villa preview. And then on the Sunday, we'll be doing the review as well. So you know what it's like. Keep it tuned to AFU. Like and subscribe for the videos if you can. And of course, keep your eyes on Twitter where all the information usually comes out. We've got a TikTok as well. That's starting to blow up a bit. So feel free to join us over there if you'd like. And we will see you on Saturday night. Cheers all.